Hey guys, so this is going to show you that yes, it's an online breastfeeding class and it is professional. I am a professional, but I'm also not, it also isn't something like so that has to be so like boring, cut and dry type of thing. So I wanted to do a quick video, and this is not even like in preparation of one, because I was in I was getting ready to make my bed, change sheets, and do all that kind of stuff like I like to do after I've taken a shower. And I like to never put my clean body in dirty sheets. It has nothing to do with breastfeeding, but I have a moment right now to do a video, and I haven't done one this week at all. And the reason is because it's been a really bad week, like for me, sick wise, and just not feeling well. And as you see, my whole bed is like completely clear. There's nothing on it. Everything is on the floor. But I just realized that I have this moment. My daughter will be home soon, and when she gets home, she's going to be stuck to me like glue, watching YouTube with me, and possibly even wanting to make some videos of her own. So I thought I'd do this video quick, and it's not really a video about anything in particular, like they have been, milk supply and going back to work and, all those different kinds of things. This video is sort of a video that is just a video of an encouragement to you guys as moms, and it's inspired. Lately, most of my videos are inspired because of my sister. So whatever she texts me that week, whatever concerns that she is having, I'm kind of like using those to think about, okay, should I make a video about this? And is this something that I think a lot of moms are asking? And would it be really a good video? And so I made one, and I honestly do not know what happened to it. I don't know if it got deleted. I'm thinking it did. I'm thinking somehow I got it deleted, or it might be on a different drive. I might have it on a separate drive. But so I decided I'm just going to go ahead and do this video. And like I said, it's not about any one subject. Basically, this video is talking about all the different opinions that you are going to get as a mom breastfeeding and with a new baby. And whether you breastfeed or not, you still get tons of opinions. And for some reason, you could have, you could be a mom already. You have a 2-year-old, maybe you have a 4-year-old, maybe you have, a 6-year-old, maybe you have 2 or 3 kids already, maybe this is your first, it doesn't matter. But for some reason, when we are taking care of our new baby, we get all these opinions from people, and we think we're doing something wrong, and we start to second guess ourselves. And the thing I told my sister just yesterday, I believe it was, is that she is no more experienced than I am, and she can give just as much, she doesn't really need my advice. What she's choosing to do, the way she's choosing to do it, is her decision and her right. She doesn't have to do it the way someone tells her she should do it. Yes, there are a lot of opinions, and there are even a lot of opinions that are backed by science, and the medical world, even the breastfeeding world, could be against certain things, such as co-sleeping. That is a big, big thing that you could talk to, you could talk to your doctor, and he could be all for co-sleeping. Or you can talk to someone else. It could be your breastfeeding specialist, and she's totally against it. Or it could be vice versa. Or it could be maybe you're on WIC, and it's the nutritionist that you're talking to. Or it just doesn't matter. Your mother-in-law, or your sister, or your whoever it is, like, you're just going to get these opinions constantly about choices that you make, and if it is a choice different from what the other person is doing. So, co-sleeping is one of them. I will not make a video and say that co-sleeping is great. And I will also not make a video and say that co-sleeping is bad. What I will say is that it can be dangerous if you do not take certain precautions. And I believe as a mom that you probably already have and already are making sure of whatever way that you're sleeping, whatever way you're choosing to sleep with your baby, that you're doing it in a protective way. I have 4 children, and the way I've slept with them in the very beginning differed depending on the situation that I was in at the time that I had them. So now, one thing I will say is I always made sure with all of them that they were out of my room by the time they can wake up and know where you are, that you are in that same room. So they wake up and they look and they know that's where you are. That's when I feel like you've gone a little bit too long, where it might become hard now to get them out of your room. That's not you, but that's like me. That's where my cutoff is. So my cutoff for moving them from my bedroom was when I felt like just before they know where you are, just before they know where they are when they wake up, so that you don't have to break them or making them realize they're in a completely different environment. And yes, they are going to kind of notice even at 3 or 4 months, but you can kind of trick them by, the blankets and the surrounding and whatever it is they're sleeping in and whatever scenery you have around them, whatever it is you do. So with each one of mine was different. But my children were in the same room with me until at least 4 to 5 months. Usually by 6 months, to me, it was like too late. I did have one that was in the room with me until he was probably almost 2. And it was only because we only had a 1-bedroom. Now, when I got pregnant and we moved into a 2-bedroom, I tried to make sure that before the baby was born that I got him into his own room so that he didn't attribute the move from mommy because this baby came along. I wanted it before so that I didn't want him to think that because the baby's here, he's now pushed out of my room. So thankfully I was able to get into a 2-bedroom apartment by the time my second baby came along, and I was able to have him in his room before the baby was born. So typically, like I said, they were in the room with me until 4 to 5 months, where I felt safe them being in a room on their own. And typically it was when I knew they were no longer safe in a bassinet, because once they can get up on all fours and sort of move themselves, I felt like the bassinet was no longer safe, just because it's so thin, the walls, and they could fall out over the top of it. So that was usually also a good time when I would move them into their crib, and that's when I would just make the move to their bedroom. Yes, they still woke up, and yes, I still would have to get up in the middle of the night, But when they hit a certain age where I knew they could sleep through the night without being fed, they really didn't need to be fed in the middle of the night, then what I did was I turned my monitor down where they would have to literally be crying really, really hard, which might sound awful, but they would have to really be crying loud in order for me to hear it and know that they were really upset. And I don't mean it like screaming, but not just, they're not a complaint. Like I didn't hear them whine or really, really. Now, if they really needed me, I heard them. I made sure that it was loud enough to hear them if they were loud enough and they needed me. And again, they were older, so I didn't just do that until they were, and again, this was my decision, and every decision you make is yours, and there will always be somebody out there that does not believe that what you're doing is right, and so that's kind of why I'm making this video. So I want you to realize, and I want you to understand, the decisions that you make are your decisions, and you should not feel like a bad mom based on them. Sometimes it's better just not to tell people what you do. And if they ask you questions, you can just be very brief and just don't give, very lengthy answers, A lot of times it might come from family members where you can't really get out of it, but you have to do what you feel is best for you and not allow yourself to feel guilty because of what you're doing. So like I said, with co-sleeping, that is just one area that you will hear a million different opinions, and you just need to decide on your own with your mate what you choose, what you're going to do, how you're going to sleep with your baby. And are you going to have bassinet next to your bed, or are you going to have a co-sleeper thingy they didn't have that when I had kids, so I don't really know what that thing was or what it's called, but like just what setup are you going to have, and what are you going to do to make sure that the baby is safe when you're sleeping, especially when dad's sleeping, because for me, I never fell into a deep sleep where I couldn't hear or feel my child there. Yes, I would fall asleep nursing, but I didn't fall into a deep sleep. I still was very much aware of them there. And as they got older and slept longer, the less they were in, the less times we fell asleep in the same bed type of thing. So anyway, I had my things that I did, and I'm not ashamed of them, and they were safe, and I made sure they were safe, and that's all you need to do as a mom, is make sure that whatever choice you do, that you feel you're making your safe precautions, and that's all you need to worry about. The other thing that you're going to hear a lot of, I'm already at 13 minutes, but the other thing you're going to hear a lot of is how long a baby should sleep, and if you should wake them, and if you should force them to feed at certain time periods, and if you should make them switch breasts. All those things are things you're going to hear, and you're going to hear a bunch of different opinions, because over time a lot has changed, and also people have different opinions and different experiences, so they're going to tell you what their experience is, or what they were told when they were having babies, or just whatever their opinion is. They may not even have babies and have an opinion. So it just goes based on that person. But you need to get your information from your lactation support person. That's why it's always good to have one before you have the baby, and someone that you really trust. If you go to a lactation person and you just don't really trust what they're telling you, or you don't feel that they're really up to date, or you feel that what they're saying to you is controversial from what you've been reading on maybe more updated websites, you can look around. You can get second opinions. You can do research on your own as well. So you don't have to take one person's opinion. So a lot has changed about those things. Babies can feed on just one breast and get a full feeding. Babies do not need to be woke up. It is not a absolute, yes, you have to wake your baby. And all these things go totally against what I was taught when I was having my babies and what I did when I was having my babies. But what I will say is that I let my baby lead, and my baby fed every hour and a half. And I just did the best I could with what I knew how to do. Switching sides, I always just recommend to a mom, when you first have the baby in those first few weeks, just breastfeed as much as you can on both breasts, just to ensure good milk supply. But can a baby get a full feeding on one breast? Yes. The whole thing about waking a sleeping baby and feeds. The thing that we want you to stop doing is we want you to stop watching the clock, and we want you to just start counting feeds, because a baby should eat anywhere between 8 and 12 or more times a day. So the younger the baby, the more times they should feed. So it's not the clock you have to watch, it's how many times they feed. And some babies and the reason this can be a little bit controversial is because sometimes a baby could feed literally from, say, noon to 6 p.m. and then they sleep from 6 p.m. to midnight or something, but they fed 6 times, and then they wake up at midnight and they feed another 6 times. That's 12 times that they fed in 24 hours. So you don't need to worry if they're feeding well. If they're going through the diapers like they're supposed to, if they're feeding well, they're content, and they're gaining weight. Those are things that you're looking for. So what we have learned in the lactation world is to stop putting our children on clocks and let them take the lead instead of us taking the lead. Yes, we tend to want to get them on a schedule, and they will actually get themselves on a schedule. But don't worry about schedules in the beginning. If you have a preemie, or you are on medication, or the baby's on medication, or the baby is jaundiced, you've got issues where the baby is sleepier and they're not gaining weight properly and they're not eating well, then yes, you're probably going to wake your baby. And yes, you're probably going to want to make sure that you get a certain amount of feeds. I still wouldn't watch the clock, but I would just be making sure that you're getting the feeds that you need, and that if you have to wake the baby to do it, then that's what you have to do. But those are certain circumstances. That is not the norm. That's just if you have a baby that's extremely jaundiced, if you have a preemie baby, if you had a C-section, or you were given pain medication, and that pain medication is still in your child and they're extra sleepy. So if you're finding that the baby is not getting enough feeds, then you're going to start waking them to get those feeds. That's all you have to worry about. So you have your piece of paper and you mark down every time they're feeding, and if in a 24-hour period they're feeding less than 8 times, and then yeah, you got to wake them. But if they're feeding over 8 times and they're going through over 6 diapers, and they're, gaining a half to an ounce a day, then you don't have to worry about anything. Everything's going well. Switching sides, it's just what is comfortable for you. Your baby can get a full feeding. The other thing is 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. How long do you have to feed on the breast? Every baby's different. It is typically a good range to say between 15 and 30 minutes is kind of good. A good idea that it's, they've had a good feed, but it really depends on the baby, because you could have a baby on there for 30 minutes and they're not feeding, they've been sleeping the whole time. Or you could have a baby on there 15 minutes and they've maybe only sucked a couple of times and they're not feeding, or you could have a baby feeding, literally they are feeding for 45 minutes to 50 minutes and they're still unhappy. So there's something wrong. They're not feeding correctly. So you see why we can't time. You can't just say 15 to 20 minutes is a good feed. The best thing that we can say is listen for swallows. You want to hear a suck, suck, swallow pattern. Suck, suck, swallow, suck, suck, swallow. That's what you're listening for. You want to see the jaw moving. You're going to be listening for the swallowing. The dimpling of the cheeks, that usually is a sign they're not latched correctly. If they're not latched correctly, they're not going to get enough milk, and they could feed longer on the breast because they're not getting enough, because they're nipple feeding. So their mouth has to be open wide. They have to have a mouthful of breast. They have to be sucking and swallowing. They have to be feeding. And that might take you massaging your breast, doing some compressions. You may have to break their suck, get them off the breast for a few minutes, wake them up if they're falling asleep, and then get them back on there. You may have to undress them a little bit so they're not so warm. You got to do things to make sure they're feeding well. So it's really just you and your baby, and all you need to do is count your feeds, count your diapers, and is your baby gaining enough weight? If things are going well, the doctor says the baby's gaining weight well, and everything's going well, then you shouldn't worry. Sometimes though, things can be going well and a doctor says the baby's not gaining weight we're not really happy with the weight gain. So then you might have to go home and think about what you might need to do to change that. Is there really a problem, or is your baby just a baby that tends to be on the smaller side? So you've got to do some research and talk to lactation specialists. And honestly, there's nothing better than having somebody observe you feed your baby rather than just like talking to you. So if you have a question, if you're concerned about those things, get somebody to actually observe you. If you don't have the money to go visit a lactation, go to a lactation support place or whatever, your insurance doesn't cover it, although they are starting to do that now. But if you can't find that, try to find a La Leche League in the area. They usually have free meetings once a month, but they have phone numbers, and you can call and you can talk to them, and they will probably meet up with you. So you can find ways to get with an experienced person who can watch you feed the baby. Even the doctor themselves, can help if need be. If that's all the resource you have, it can be very difficult because I've seen cases where, numbers don't look good, but the baby's doing great. So it really is you. And it's a long video, but I have to let you know that the decisions that you make are not always going to be what everybody else agrees with. So you have to make sure that you just do what's best for you. You cannot listen to every piece of advice out there. You just cannot, or you will go crazy as a mom. Just take what you can. If you feel it's good advice, take it and try it. If it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. Each mom and baby are different. It may not work for you the way it works for somebody else, or what works for you and your baby may not work for that person. So make your decisions how you want to sleep. Make your decisions on how you're going to feed your baby and how you are going to make sure the baby is getting enough milk. And then don't worry about what people tell you should be doing. Just find your way. Find your way, because we know what we're looking for. We know we want the baby to be gaining weight. We know that the baby needs to be going through a certain amount of diapers, and we know the baby needs to be feeding a certain amount of feeds a day. Those three things. That's all you need to look for, and as long as whatever you do, you're able to get those three facts of information for yourself, and all those pan out, then you're doing good, and you don't need to change anything. So that's my spiel. That's my 24-minute spiel of absolutely nothing really am I teaching you except to trust yourself and your instinct. If you think something's not right, go get help. If you feel it's right, everything is fine, and you just, someone's irritating you and making you feel like things are wrong, just take a moment and recheck. Look for those three things, and if it all looks good, then you're fine. And keep doing the things that you're doing, and don't worry about what other people say. And that's just going to be my video for the week. Congratulations on your new baby, and have fun and get to know your baby and do whatever it is that your heart desires. Your heart desire is to take care of your baby and give your baby everything they need. So don't worry about what other people say. If it's working, then fine. Now, you can have some cases where things aren't right. You can have some irritable, bad, crappy days where the baby just cries a lot and they're not happy with the breast and they just don't want anything. They just want to be held, or they don't want to be held, or they want to feed but then they don't want to feed. It's not you. It can be a growth spurt. It can be just a bad day. The only time you need to begin to worry about anything is if the baby loses weight, is not gaining weight, if the baby is not going through their diapers properly and they're sleeping a lot. Literally those first few weeks, all they do is eat, sleep, poop. Eat, sleep, poop. Like, that's all. But if you notice that they're not eating and pooping, all they're doing is sleeping, then you do what you got to do. And I really feel that as a mom, you will know if something isn't right. And if somebody says something to you and it makes you question it, just like I said, just look at those 3 things and see what those look like, and ask your support person if you have to. And hopefully you can find that support near you and you can get that support so that you don't have to worry about it when the time actually comes. I watch a lot of videos where I see moms with new babies and they're going through things, and I hear them struggling with thoughts that they're not doing well because I heard somebody say something that just isn't true, and I just cringe. So I gave you the 3 tools. Those are the 3 things. It's all you need. How many times are they feeding? They should feed 8 to 12 or more times a day. How many diapers? By day 6, you're looking for 6 wet diapers a day. 2 to 3 of those will be stool. You're going to get more than that, so don't worry. And then gaining weight. So if they are feeding 12 times a day and they're going through tons of diapers, but their gaining is a little bit slow, I wouldn't overly worry. But you can see, try changing a few things if you have to. But a lot of times when you have all those 3 things together, everything is fine and you'll be fine. So I hope this video helps you. I'm sorry that it's a long one. I will try to edit out any stuff to get it a little bit less than what it is. But you guys, you're good moms and you'll do a good job, and trust yourself and your instinct. If you have any questions or comments for me, please leave them below. Hit the subscribe button and you'll be given notices when I have new breastfeeding videos out there for you. I hope that you guys will continue to watch, and I hope that I am providing the information that you need and helping you relax and just enjoy your baby. So you guys have a great day or night or weekend. It's weekend for me right now. Whatever it is for you, hope you're having a good one.